This video is going to cover using screen grabs on a Macintosh in Photoshop to create a PDF for supplementing students in the projects that I give them. So we're going to use Photoshop, make the screen grabs of our project at certain states of progress, and then those screen grabs will be introduced into InDesign and exported as a collective PDF. So I'm going to start to make some screen grabs of this project at different stages of completion. There are two ways in which to do so. I can hit Command-Shift-3 and I'll hear a snap of a camera if my audio is on my Macintosh, and if I look at my desktop, this is the file that was created. Now what you're seeing is the entire desktop has been rendered. And very often all the extemporaneous files we see on the desktop can be a distraction. Now that can be cropped in InDesign, but it's just as easy to do that in Photoshop first. So with the same file, I'm going to hold down Command-Shift, then hit 4, and my cursor turns into a crosshair. When I click and drag, I can make a selection of the area in which I want to make a screen grab of. And now if I were to take a look at that one, it's a bit more concise. So both processes will give you the same result. I'm going to take a few more screen grabs, and then we're going to open up InDesign and place them in a document and export them as a PDF. Now that we have the screen grabs, we're going to go into InDesign and create the PDF. So I've opened up InDesign, and much the same as Photoshop, there are windows that we will be using. And just as in Photoshop, if I were to go to Window, I can access them. I'm going to make sure I've got my toolbar, and I've got my pages, and then the application bar. And the application bar is like the option window in Photoshop. It will reflect where I can make changes depending on the tool that I choose. So I'm going to make a new file. Now as in Photoshop, I could hit Command-N, or I can go to File, New, Document. I'm going to set up my pages for 11 by 8.5. That's horizontal. And once I've done so, I will hit Create. I'm going to start by introducing some of my screen grabs. So with the first one, in order to do so, I need a picture box. So if I was to hit F on the keyboard, it will take me to the Frame tool. It's a box with a cross through it. I'll click and drag a box across my document window, and then I'm going to get my Move tool to place it where I might want it to be. Now I can change the scale and proportion of this as I choose. I'm going to keep the box relatively large because the important part of this tutorial is the visual content. With that box selected, I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to choose the word Place. Now you'll notice that as in Photoshop, the prevalently used key quicks are located at the far right hand side of the menu. In this case, Command-D is the key quick for Place. I'll click on Place, and I'm going to go to a folder where I've put all my screenshots, and I'll select the first one. Now what will probably happen is the resolution will be quite low and the picture will be cropped. I'm going to right click inside the picture box, and I'm going to choose Fitting, and I'm going to choose Fit Content to Frame. And now my full picture is being shown. Now the resolution is still choppy, and that's just for a preview, but if you want to see it more clearly, you can right click on that file once again, and at the bottom you'll see Display Performance. I'm going to choose High Quality. Now I'm seeing the picture in full resolution. Now because I used Command-Shift-3, it gave me the whole desktop, and I don't want all this extemporaneous desktop blue. So I'm going to go down to the bottom of my right hand corner, and I'm going to click and drag, and I'm going to crop the box in which the picture resides. Now I'm going to place it back at the bottom again, and I'm going to scale it up. So if I were to hold Command-Shift, I can drag on the corners, and I can scale this up, keeping the picture placed proportionally inside the box. Now we can introduce the text. So as in Photoshop, I can click on the T, or I can hit T on the keyboard. Now until I drag a text box, the option window here will not show me the functionality. So I'll click and drag a random size text box. And now the option window reflects all the changes that I can make for my text. I'm going to change the font to Helvetica. I'm going to choose Helvetica Bold. And I'm going to leave it at 12 points. 12 points is usually a good point size for reading. At this point, it is the content you feel you need to place to accompany the art. Now, once I've got the content I want in, I'll want to introduce the next sequential snapshot that I took from Photoshop. Now, I want to keep the design somewhat consistent. So once I've got the placement of these elements the way I may want them to be, I'm going to shift select the text box and the content box. Once I've shift selected, I'm going to copy. I'll hit Command C, and then I'm going to go over to the page window, and where it says A Master, I'll drag the white icon down into the layout, and then I will go to Edit, Paste, and Place. And now I've got the second page. I'm going to select just the box for the content, and I'll do one of two things. Either I'll go to File, Place, or I'll hit Command D. I'll select the next snapshot and click Open. Once again, I'll right-click, choose Fitting, and Fit Content to Frame. Now, let's say I wanted to scale this picture to maximize and eliminate some of this blue. Rather than change the scale of the box, I can now double click on the picture inside the box. You'll notice there's a faint brown line around it now, which means that if I were to hold the Shift and the Option and drag from one of the corners, I can now scale the content without changing the scale of the box that it resides in. And that's just going to let me keep everything kind of proportional. Now that I've got that one done, I'm going to drag another page from A Master. And because it's already, the content is already on the clipboard, I can now go to Edit, Paste, and Place. Once again, I can change the text if need be. Once again, I can select the content box, hit Command D, select the next snapshot, and I'll right-click on it and choose Fitting and Fit Content to Frame. I want to scale that to optimize the actual pertinent information, so I'll double-click on the picture, hold down the Shift key or Shift Option if I want to scale in from the middle out. And I'll click outside my document window and save. Now, I'm going to do one more, and when I've done that, I'll return and we'll make the PDF. Now that I have the pages laid out inside of InDesign, I'm going to make it into one collective PDF that I can give to my students. I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to choose Export. Now, there are many choices that can be made, but because this is going to be used on screen, I'm going to choose from the bottom Adobe PDF Interactive. That's going to give me the smallest, clearest file that would make it easy for me to email to my students. So I'll name it, and I'll save it where I can get at it. And I'll click on All Pages, where it says General. And I'll click on the Export button, and you may get a message where it's telling you it's going to convert any CMYK content, which would probably be pictures, into an RGB file, which is perfectly fine. And now if I look at my PDF, I can see that I have all those pages in my Adobe Acrobat PDF.